do this. Hey everyone, my name is Christy Verhoek-Post, and this is the Post Production Podcast. This is a space for women who are building businesses, rediscovering themselves, starting anew, or simply trying to figure out what's next. Here we talk about real, unpolished parts of entrepreneurship, the starts, the stops, the fear, oh dear goodness, the fear, the learning curves, and the big questions no one prepares you for, especially when you're living abroad, starting from scratch, or navigating life in a place you know you won't stay forever. Have you ever wondered, what's the point in starting a business when I know I'll be leaving eventually? It's a fair question, right? I've heard it many, many times, and I've even contemplated it myself. Because, true story, when your visa renews every couple of years, when your partner's contract has an end date, when the plan was always just a couple of years, it can absolutely feel like your timeline is borrowed. And that shapes how we live, right? How we invest in ourselves and others, how much space we allow ourselves to take up. But here's what I'd like for us to contemplate today. Just because your surroundings might be temporary, it doesn't mean that your efforts should be temporary, right? Your creativity, your confidence, your capacity to impact others are not tied just to your geography. So if you're ready, grab yourself a cup of coffee or your favorite cup of something, and let's talk about what it really means to build something lasting, even in a place where you may not live forever. So let's start with the feeling many of us hold but rarely speak aloud. That is the strange weight of impermanence. Living abroad, especially as a trailing spouse, often means juggling contracts, visa renewals, and ever-shifting family timelines. Everything feels conditional, provisional. And so we wait. We wait to feel settled. We wait to feel secure enough to dream about our futures. We wait to build the thing that we've been imagining in the backs of our minds between school drop-offs and meal preps and everything else that we've got on the go. When my husband and I moved here with our daughters, it was supposed to be for 2 years. We packed very lightly when we left Canada, literally and emotionally. Why go through the stress and expense of bringing everything over when we're just going to have to bring it all back in a few years anyway, right? But then as we got comfortable in our new surroundings, and as we started to meet people and make friends with those who had done the same, we discovered that more often than not, they also came for 2 and stayed for 10. They didn't plan to plant roots, but they ended up growing anyway. At the same time, I've known others who've had to leave with very little notice. The truth is that you can plan all you want, but this lifestyle teaches you to hold the future loosely. But I believe that that doesn't mean that you should stop hoping. I think it just means that you could perhaps start asking yourself different questions, like, what can I do with the time that I have now? When it all boils down, even a short chapter is still a chapter, right? And when something stirs your imagination, when a business idea or a creative calling whispers to you, that, my friends, is a seed. And seeds don't ask how long the garden will exist. They just grow. Listen, if you found yourself hesitating or unsure whether you should start something when your future might feel so unpredictable, here's something that I'd like for you to consider. Number 1, you're not alone. And number 2, it's definitely not in your imagination how hard and heavy the weight of uncertainty can feel. There is actual research to back this up, guys. A study into the adjustment of trailing spouses found that those who actively pursued purpose, either through work or volunteering or entrepreneurship or what have you, they adjusted more positively and found deeper personal fulfillment. It wasn't about having a career for show, but more so having something that's yours, something that stretches you and makes you feel like you're using absolutely everything that you've brought with you to help grow yourself and help others. And by the way, my definition of help does not limit itself to service-based work. When you design a beautiful scarf that someone feels like $1,000,000 in, you're helping. When you infuse soy wax candles with the perfect blend of oils that makes someone feel grounded, you're helping. When you craft a dog collar or a leash from sturdy materials that won't break at the slightest tug, you're helping. There's a growing recognition of something called expatpreneurs. These are people who are often women and they start businesses abroad. And not because they have to, but because they want to. They want to do it to grow. They want to do it to offer their services and their brains and all of their blessings to others. They want to explore what's possible or do something that they've never made space for in their own lives back home. So if you're wondering if your aspirations are niche or indulgent, they're not. You're pretty much part of a thriving global movement. These are women who are building real businesses in spaces that weren't originally designed for them, but they're shaping them and being molded by them all the same. That's not frivolous, my friends. That's gutsy and visionary, and I like that. I'm going to take a slight left here and talk about the legacy that comes with the vision. We often think of legacy as something physical, a studio or a shop or a building with your name on it. But my personal belief is that legacy is made up of echoes of ourselves. Most of you know that before I started Postscript, I worked for the federal government in Canada for nearly 2 decades. I served at the pleasure of the public, supporting systems, not selling services. Charging people for my help still feels super strange, even now. That mindset of service, of giving yourself away, is really hard to unlearn. And to be honest, I still feel like I'm playing business half of the time. I still wonder when I'll stop feeling like the high school version of myself who's waiting for permission to speak up or take space. That was a really short digression to assure those who still hesitate to charge their worth that they are so not alone. But I do have a point by bringing up my previous career life thing, and that's that even then, even with those doubts, I know that I've left an imprint on the people that I worked with, and they carry pieces of what we've built together. You'll see those in how they fill in their progress reports now, or how they build programs that meaningfully advocate and serve others, and how they communicate and educate with empathy and compassion. That is my legacy. And now I see it happening again, this time through Postscript. It's in the women that I've supported through their first business licenses, and the ones who finally raised their rates or product prices to match their true value, and the ones who've stopped shrinking when they introduce themselves and what they do for a living. So even if I were to leave tomorrow, all of that work doesn't vanish because it carries on in the people that I've served. While you leave part of your story and impact here when you eventually go, legacy isn't just a reflection of what you leave behind, but also what you carry forward into the next chapter of your life. We talk a lot about success in this space, but it's usually in terms of outcomes, right? Milestones and visibility. I want to share that for me, success is something a little more subtle. To me, success is a feeling of wholeness, of listening to yourself and choosing to build something that feels fulfilling, even if no one else understands it. I don't think success should be about meeting someone else's expectations. I really don't. I think that it's about no longer abandoning your own expectations. And still, I find myself moved by other definitions too. Recently, I heard a story about someone who had a conversation with a dying parent. And the outcome of that conversation was the desire for the living to go forward and share their blessings with other people. And that stayed with me because that's what meaningful work does. It ripples outward. It lives on in the people that you touch. It multiplies who you are and what you've learned. And that's not a brand campaign. That's a life well lived. Sometimes we underestimate the impact that we're already having on people. Think about your family, your friends, your community, even your barista. Your energy, your ideas, your kindness, they're shaping people. You might not see the ripple, but it's there. Take this podcast, for example. It started as a personal learning project. I wanted to understand the process of podcasting. How do you record? How do you edit? How do you publish? How does it work? I'll be honest with you, I usually move on pretty quickly once I've figured something out. Novelty is what keeps me engaged usually. But somewhere between asking my microphone, is this thing on, and posting my first segment on intentional goal setting, I realized that I actually had something to say. And more importantly, I wanted to say it for someone, for the people like me who were starting over in a new place, the ones that are trying to find their voice, the ones that are doing hard things with courage. And now 9 episodes in, I'm still here because you're here, because I get those messages that say, I felt seen today, thank you so much, or I finally did the thing. For me, that's the ripple. And I want to tell you the same thing. You don't need viral posts to build legacy. You just need to keep showing up for people with intention, whether you realize it or not. Just be a good human being. If you've ever felt like you're not sure whether you're making an impact or working towards something meaningful, I want you to look again. Chances are you're already creating an impact, whether you know it or not. It might be how you show up for your children, or how you share your story with a friend, or how you support another woman who's just finding her footing, or welcoming a new family into this place that is temporary for most of us. Even if you only live here for a few years, you still deserve to create something that's yours. Something that stretches you, that gives you purpose, something that reminds you that your story isn't on pause, it's unfolding, right? Life doesn't stop because you've moved somewhere that feels temporary. It goes on, and trust me, life is very, very short, right? We don't all get that nice long runway that we hope for. So build something with care and carry it forward with you, because it will come with you into your next chapter. You'll show up in your new city or your new country with more confidence than you've ever had before, because you've done it once, and now you know that you can do it again. And hopefully you're bringing other things from other people who have had an impact on you too. It's not just a business, it's your evolving identity, your voice, and all of your possibilities and aspirations and dreams. So my hope for you is that you don't let time or lack of it hold you back and quash the aspirations that you have for yourself, or your ability to have an impact on others. My wish for you is for you to go forward and build and become and evolve and leave your positive, indelible mark on others. This episode might touch something tender. Maybe it stirred something that you've been trying to ignore, or it brought back a question that you've been carrying with you for a while. If so, I'd like for that to be a gentle invitation for you, not to act, but just notice. Here's your challenge for this week. Start becoming conscious of the ways that you're already shaping the space around you. Not someday, not once you've launched the business, right now, in your everyday life. How are you creating a lasting impact? And how are others impacting you? And how do you take those impacts from others and carry them forward in your own life? It could be today, or it could be months or years from now. How do you absorb the impact that others are having on you, and how do you pay it forward? It might be how you greet the principal at the school gate, or a message that you send to someone that makes them feel seen, or the examples that you're setting for your children, or the courage that you model when you speak about your ideas, even if your voice shakes a little. It could also be just teaching someone new to this country about a cultural norm that they may not have thought about. These things, they matter, they stay, and they're shards of your legacy, whether you've named it yet or not. You don't have to try harder this week. Just pay attention. And before I go, I want to leave you with this. You might not be here forever, but that doesn't mean that what you're doing here doesn't matter. Every kind word, every brave decision, Every idea shared with love and courage and empathy and respect, that is all part of something that lasts. Because, as I said earlier, seeds don't ask how long the garden will exist. They just grow. So grow. Even here, even now, especially now. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and showing up in the ways that only you can. If something in this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to come and say hi over on Instagram. I hang out at postscript.ae, and I'd love to hear what stayed with you. Until next time, please keep moving forward one messy step at a time. See you in the next episode.